What's up, my dudes? The Big Hoss got the tea on deck. Bro, there's been drama everywhere in Supercross. This is just another one of those things that just happened. If you didn't see it in the race, Garrett Marchbanks completely blew McAdoo to another planet and back in the Atlantona third round of Supercross in 2021. So that's what we're talking about here. This sparked up a lot of drama. Of course, Marchbanks getting kicked off of Pro Circuit Kawasaki. And then he's, on the Club MX team bike this year to prove a point. Even goes as far to have a I Am Comeback sponsorship on his bike. It was kind of hilarious. Oh my God, you can definitely jump that. Okay. Either way, this has sparked up drama from the start of the year. It's already kind of been this thing where Marchbanks has been, everybody's been thinking he's been trying to get back at Pro Circuit or whatever the case may be. And then, so now in this situation, we have Cameron McAdoo, obviously could potentially win the championship still, second in points in the championship. And then they're sitting back there in I don't know, I think it was 10th or something. Bear with me. I might have had a couple got shot by a couple silver bullets when I was watching this shit, but so bear with my memory here a little bit. But somewhere that's back in 10th or some shit, and with all the issues that McAdoo's had, red flag crashing, all the crazy shit he's doing, Marchbanks goes in there. I'm talking super aggressive pass. They both go down. The bikes get locked up for 3 hours long, and then they finally get back up on the bikes. So this basically what this particular crash did was it pretty much took McAdoo completely out of the championship. Had he not already totally been out of the championship from the multiple red flags that he caused, and then, being allowed to come back and race even after being the one that caused the red flags, even though apparently that is fair in the rule book. I don't know how the hell that's fair, but either way, nevertheless, the point of this video, the whole situation we're talking about here is Marchbanks in particular making a super aggressive pass on McAdoo, which pretty much, McAdoo was already basically out of it anyways, but that aggressive pass, that takeout that Marchbanks made on him really, really just solidified the, hey, dog, you're not going to win this title right here. So that's what stirred up all this debate on, did Marchbanks do this out of spite of Pro Circuit kicking him off? He's, been talking all year about, and Ricky and dudes in the broadcast been talking about Marchbanks not happy with, being kicked off Pro Circuit. I still don't really know the full story behind all that, but certainly bizarre as hell when a, full-blown team kicks you off after you just won Daytona the previous year. I'm not really sure what the reasoning behind it was or whatever, but nevertheless, it is certainly an interesting thing. So, Garrett Marchbanks finally comes out with a public statement on this whole thing on his Instagram. This just came out a day or two ago, and he goes in there talking about, the standard professional statement that these guys have to make, right? Which are, pretty much always complete bullshit. Let's just keep it real right now. Yes, obviously Marchbanks is going to have to go in there and explain himself a little bit, but just to kind of sum up his statement that he made on Instagram, he basically just run-of-the-mill, this is not a direct action of Club MX. This is not what Club MX stands for. I was not trying to take out, McAdoo because he's on the Pro Circuit team. That standard basically just trying to cover his ass, basically. That's what Marchbanks was doing there. And he did go on to say that apparently McAdoo was crossing him over on some jumps beforehand or whatever. And, obviously with Marchbanks talking about McAdoo causing the red flags, and he, I don't know what the hell, but it's pretty damn hard to believe that there wasn't at least a little bit of I'm going to get back. Here's my one chance to actually make an impact on getting back at pro circuit, right? Here's my one chance to actually make that one takeout that Marchbanks did right there was a big deal in the championship. I mean, like I'm saying, yeah, McAdoo was pretty much already out of the championship, but that right there solidified it. That right there is what made it really it. Now you're definitely not going to win. You already pretty much wasn't going to win, but now you're definitely not going to win the title, right? So that's pretty much what that did. And it is hard to believe, I mean, that Marchbanks didn't at least have a little bit of, payback in his mind to pro circuit or whatever. And then that's what kind of made a lot of people think that. And then so that I'm sure a lot of people were going at Club MX at that point, like, how the hell could you have this dude on your team, blah, 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 whatever. So that's why Marchbanks had to go in there and say, Club MX does not stand for that kind of riding or whatever. And Marchbanks saying that he made a mistake and he owns up to the mistake or whatever the case may be, right? Very, very run-of-the-mill, politically correct, cover my ass, Instagram post. So with that being said, right, if I went out there and won Daytona on a, full-blown 250 factory team like Pro Circuit, and then they kick me off, right, and then I'm still in there racing, and I had the opportunity to potentially, get any sort of payback or whatever the case may be, it is what it is. There's payback that happens all over the track, and there's so many times where different things happen in different races that we can't see on the TV broadcast, and there's times where, you can't just say, oh, this dude's so terrible because he did this one thing, because you're kind of taking it out of context when you say things like that. There's so many other things that happen, so it's so hard to speak on it. But what I do want to say is, I certainly don't want AMA to get to this point where they just start banning or they start, suspending or whatever for aggressive riding, right? They've already kind of started going down that road a little bit. There's already been a plethora of different people that have gotten aggressive riding warnings this year. I think Jet Lawrence got one there at one point. Some other guys might have got some just for making too hard of a pass. Right? Like straight up. So I feel like AMA is going down this slippery slope rabbit hole of, oh, well, that's too aggressive, but then that's not, right? Yeah, I feel like if you guys don't know my standpoint on aggressive riding and aggressive passes and things like that, I basically look at it like it should be the Wild West. You let them handle it on the track. You don't start going in there and saying, oh, no, you can't do that. That was too hard of a pass. Now we're going to give you an aggressive riding warning. Or, oh, no, that was too aggressive of a pass. Now we're going to suspend you for a round. I don't like that ideology at all because, and I don't even know what they did to Marchbanks. I don't think they actually did give him any sort of penalty for that. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think they did. They might have, but I don't think they might have given him aggressive riding warning for what he did to McAdoo. I don't really know, but I don't think they gave him anything. So, but I'm just saying they have given some people aggressive riding warnings this year so far. And could you imagine if they would have gave out like some sort of penalty back in the days of Stewart and Chad Reed? Back when they were really going at it, can you imagine if there was like aggressive riding warnings back in those days? That would have killed the whole racing. That would have killed everything of what made those years between like 05 to 2010 what they were. It would have killed all of it. So that's what I'm getting at. AMA has got to be very, very careful right now with that whole aggressive riding warning bullshit that they're doing, because it's going to get to a point where they kill what makes the racing what it is. Even in, no matter how you want to look at this Marchbanks running into McAdoo situation, whether you want to call it, dangerous or whatever. A lot of people look at just McAdoo being allowed to be on the track at all right now dangerous because the multiple red flags he's caused and still being allowed to race and all that. So it's all in how you want to look at it, right? But some people that call that pass that Marchbanks made on him dangerous or like he could have hurt somebody or whatever the case may be, there's also a whole nother side of that of like, this shit is fun to watch. this is fun to talk about. This is what makes it, oh man, Marchbanks, oh dude, he's going back at PC, right? He's going back at Pro Circuit right here, right? It gives you something to talk about. Could you imagine how boring this shit would be if everybody was riding on their tippy toes because they were scared to get a suspension because of a too aggressive pass or a too aggressive riding warning or whatever? Like, could you imagine that? AMA is going to take the entire backbone out of the racing if they're not careful with this. Like, seriously. So this is just kind of segued into a different thing that I wanted to talk about here, but it's really important because I think a lot of people just don't understand what that would equate to. Like, AMA really needs to realize that there is a giant chunk of people where the only real reason they're watching Supercross on TV or going to a Supercross event, one of the best things about it is the takeouts and the crashes and the drama, and that adds to the whole excitement of it. You see what I'm saying? So if AMA just starts, trying to restrict everybody and giving out all these penalties for being too aggressive, it's going to get to the point where nobody's ever going to make any kind of even a remotely aggressive pass at all or anything. Then you're going to have no more drama at all. You're going to have no more exciting stories. You're not going to have as many crashes. So therefore, you're just going to have less and less people that are watching it. You're going to have less and less people that are interested in it. Drama and crashes and rivalries and, Reed running into Stewart in Atlanta back in, when was that? 08, 09, something like that. That's what made it exciting. That's what makes it fun to watch. It's what makes the rivalries fun. If you don't have takeouts and, team rivalry drama, I mean, and I look at it like one of those things of handle it on the track. Let the boys handle it on the track. If Marchbanks feels like he was treated wrong over at Pro Circuit and he wants to make a big, impactful, very, very hard pass like that, take out on somebody that's fighting for the points for Pro Circuit on his bike that he should be on, then it is what it is. Like, it's kind of like one of those things of, if you're Pro Circuit and you're going to cut somebody off of your team, you better make sure it's for a good-ass reason. You better make sure, it's one of those things, it's a fair reason to take somebody off of your team, because if they're fast enough to get on another team and get up in that fighting position to where they could potentially take out one of your future guys, then it just is what it is. Obviously, there's been some sort of bad blood between Marchbanks and Pro Circuit somehow, some way along the line here that caused that. So it is what it is. It was handled on the track. Marchbanks handled it on the track. No matter what he wanted to say in his, politically correct Instagram post, pretty obvious what went down right there, right? But it is what it is, It is what it is. It was handled on the track. It was an on-track situation. Was it way too aggressive? Was it insane? Certainly for a pass back in 10th or wherever the hell they were, you know what I'm saying? But like, at the same time though, it's racing, dude. Like, it is what it is. I mean, it is what it is. Whether or not, McAdoo crossed over in front of him multiple times or whatever, I'm sure anytime Marchbanks comes up behind anybody that's on Pro Circuit this year in particular, he's not going to play it too nice. And I can't blame the guy. If a full-blown factory team is going to kick you off after just winning the Daytona race, yeah, I would probably have a little bit of spite from that too. I would probably feel a certain type of way about that too. And revenge is just human nature, dog. It just is what it is. Revenge is human nature. So now it's to the point where maybe next year Marchbanks gets picked up by Star Yamaha. Let's say he's in the points fight of a championship next year on Star Yamaha, and then somebody on Pro Circuit could potentially go take out Marchbanks then, right? And then it is what it is. Everything goes full circle, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. And however you want to call that takeout Marchbanks did on McAdoo, I mean, it is what it is. It's on the track racing. Once you start getting there and you start trying to restrict how they can race and how aggressive they can be and giving out aggressive riding warnings, I'm telling you, it's a rabbit hole. It's a slippery slope that you can't control, because then you're going to have these unfair situations where you give penalties out when you shouldn't have, and then everybody starts getting too scared to actually race each other hard at all. I mean, yeah, there's certainly a respect level out there but if you don't have respect and you want to pass people too hard, then everything goes full circle. Then you're going to have everybody that's going to try to take you back out, right? So it's like, the way I look at it is AMA doesn't need to be the sheriff, okay, and try to like restrict everybody from racing hard. It handles itself, the rivalries and the paybacks and the handling it on the track, it all goes back around full circle. This guy will pay this guy back, and then they'll get back to even, or whatever the case may be. There's no sense in AMA trying to police the shit like they do. There's just no sense in it. But either way, so we'll see what happens with Marchbanks. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Not only just because of his results, but like, he's been doing pretty damn good for being on a Club MX team. I mean, there's been multiple times he's been right up in there in the thick of it for a majority of the race. He finished pretty good in the very first race that he raced in this year. So I guarantee you, if Star Yamaha picks up Marchbanks, he's going to do pretty damn good on that bike next year. Like, definitely title contender. It would be stupid for Star Yamaha not to pick up Marchbanks for next year. Just saying. So either way, that's my opinion on it. Definitely let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I just look at it like it's to that point where you got to let the boys handle the shit on the racetrack, So if Marchbanks wants to make a move like that, then it is what it is, right? And he's going to have to kind of be on his toes now, because there's going to be some dudes trying to play out revenge on him, which is how it goes. That's just how it goes. You dish it out. You got to be able to take what you dish out. And that's what's fun. That's what makes it fun. Hell, it's giving me content to talk about. It was funny, and crazy and fun when I saw it happen in the race. Like, oh, bro, Marchbanks just took out McAdoo. Holy shit. Was he doing that to get back at PC? It's like a crazy... That's what makes Supercross fun to watch, dog. You got to have these, Jet Lawrences and these Jason Lawrences and these... all these different kind of guys and these takeouts and all this stuff. That's what makes it fun. If everybody's all politically correct and never takes anybody out and never is too aggressive because they're scared of what AMA is going to do to them, this shit's going to get boring. This shit wouldn't even be fun to watch anymore. So there's definitely an aspect of that AMA needs to take into consideration, no doubt about it. But either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.